Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for another episode of Porn Star Confessions. Today I'm super excited. I've got Zaddy Tony. Welcome.
Hi, everyone who's watching.
Okay, so my first question is eh, keep in mind, I'm like grandpa, so this one apparently went straight over my head, but I see all the time online like Zaddy. Is there a difference between a Zaddy and a daddy? Like, explain that whole thing to me.
So, Genesis story. Back when I first started doing online sex work, I used to do Chatterbait. And so when I did Chatterbait with my ex-boyfriend. That's kind of how I got my start into everything. And so back then, my poor name was like an old, like where your first or what your middle name is and the street that you were born on. So that time I was Anthony Annapolis. And so then when I started doing this, I was like, that's so wordy. Like Anthony Annapolis is so wordy. And I went to school for marketing. And so I was like, how do I shorten this and to make it something more zippy? And so my Instagram handle before I started doing porn has always been part-time daddy. And so I've always said that daddy is a state of mind, but because I'm not daddy age, I was like, so why don't I use Zaddy? So Zaddy is like younger daddy, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
Because back when I started, I was like 25, 26. And so everyone used to talk shit to me about calling myself daddy. And I used to always say daddy was a state of mind. So
Oh,
there we go.
okay. So how old are you now?
30.
30. Okay. God, you're still a baby. Um, all right. No, I like that though. So what is like I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Like,
Yeah.
what is a daddy to you? Because that's a very subjective word. If I ask 10 people, I'm getting 10 answers.
Yeah, it's a completely different answer to everyone. I think it's someone that commands a presence, but it isn't is like dominant, but in a way that is like with care. You know what I mean? Like I've always thought that like as a daddy in my bedroom experiences and with people that after we like have sex, like aftercare and checking in on people and like taking care of people. So that's what daddy means to me. It's like that paternal aspect kind of dominating presence.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm impressed.
Thanks. I've thought about this. I've been asked this before.
Okay. No, I like that. That's a good answer because yeah, a lot of people associate. I don't know. It's kind of like you said the word like dominant. Like so many people associate that with something negative, whereas for me,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah,
No. There's nothing wrong with dominance as long as there's like consent and checking in and all of that.
yeah. I mean, the other end, I wouldn't even call that being dominant. I would call it being a high school bully.
Right. Right. There's nothing. A true dom is someone that has done a lot of care and check in and consent, running by what are good for people and what they're okay with. But yeah, like you said, a person that calls themselves a dom and doesn't do any of that is just like a high school bully. That's a great way to put it.
Okay. So, you said you got your degree in marketing. Do you get your bachelor's?
Well, I got my BBA, my bachelor's in business administration with a focus in
Oh,
marketing.
okay.
Yeah,
All right. So,
I graduated 2 years ago. 2 years
so what
ago.
made you pick that path?
Um, I've always been business oriented. I was originally when I first going to school, like right after I graduated high school, I wanted to go to school for psychology, and then I was like, I have enough trauma. I don't really feel like dissecting other people's trauma, and so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And at that point, I thought, which is crazy because I don't feel this way anymore. I felt that a college degree was so important for me to have because I grew up very poor and my parents didn't go to college. And so I was like, well, what can I do? And then business just made the most sense.
Okay. Oh, amazing.
And it's been really useful for
Yeah.
this whole thing, because I just brand myself as a product. Like I would brand myself for or brand a product for a company
Mhm.
or whatever. I'm the brand.
Yeah. Okay. So, said you got your degree 2 years ago. When did you say you started doing ChatterBait?
2018.
Oh wow. Okay, so it's been a minute.
It's been a
How
minute,
did
yeah.
that all come about?
My ex-boyfriend is or was we're not saying his name, so it's okay. My ex-boyfriend was an escort, and he used to do ChatterBait. And so we were dating, and he was like, "Do you want to do this with me?" And at the time, I was working in a restaurant, and I was a server. I was working in a restaurant, and I was a server, and I was like, why not? Like, we're having sex anyways." And so then the first show we did, we split like $800 a piece, and I was like blown away because for me, like making that much money required a lot of
Yeah.
effort. Not to say that sex work is an effort, but it required a lot of effort, and so I was like, oh, I'm addicted to this. And so then we started doing that. But Chatterbait is so much work. Shout out to the Chatterbait girls. It's so much work comparatively because you're like on camera for like 4 hours.
Okay, so uh, now I'm curious because I never got on Chatterbait but when I very first started, I got on Flirt for Free. And I was always
Okay.
jealous of the women because the women can sit there and like, oh, I'm coming, like all fucking day, right? Whereas, like, as a
Right.
dude, I'm like, there's a limit to this shit. Like, I,
Yeah, no, it was a lot of like being like, well, if we get to this goal, we'll do this. Like at the time, as I identify as verse, even though I mostly talk on camera, so it'd be like, I would get to this much money, and then I'll stick a butt plug up my ass, and then I'll get to this much money, and then my ex will fuck me. We'll get to this much money, and then I'll fuck my ex, and then if we get to this goal, I come or we come or whatever the
okay,
case might be.
all right, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So it's like edging the people who are watching through the experience.
Gotcha. Okay,
I don't miss it though. It's so much. It's so, like you said. I feel like this is a greater theme in general. Women have it harder in the world
yeah,
and regularly, but in sex work, I feel like women have to not do as much fucking. Like there's OnlyFans creators who are women who don't do any
yeah.
duo content. And like I know men can do that, but to have success, it's really hard. You have to be like the pinnacle of man to just be like, I'm just showing my dick, because we're like, and also gays are spoiled, so they're used to seeing a bunch of us fucking on camera.
That's true. Okay. So, like, when you started making money doing that, were you still working at the restaurant as well?
Oh yeah, I never wanted to do sex work full time at that point. It scared me. Like the concept of not having like a brick and mortar job made me nervous,
Okay.
which is crazy to think about now because now I can't imagine. I don't want a brick and mortar job whatsoever.
Okay. So, how did you go from there to where you are now?
So I was dating my ex, and then we ended up breaking up. And so doing Chatterbait alone is so much more difficult than doing it with another person. And so I tried to do it alone, and then it just was like I was not making the same money that I was. And so I, at that point, had built like a small following. Like I think I probably had like 30,000 followers or something on Chatterbait. I mean, that's not small. I shouldn't say that. That's just me being me now. But at that point, it was a lot of people, but now it's like small in comparison. So I reached out to this boy I used to live in Michigan. I'm from the Detroit area. I lived in Detroit during this time period. And so I reached out to this boy who did OnlyFans, and I was like, hey, do you want to do Chatterbait with me? And he was like, sure, let's do it. And so then we did a show. We made some money. And then when the show was over, he was like, have you ever thought about making an OnlyFans? And this was like 2019. At that point, I had no idea what OnlyFans was. And so he explained the concept to me, and I was very like, that sounds like so much work. because at that point I was working full time. I was doing Chatterbait. I was in college. I was like, I don't know if I have the time to do that. And he's like, well, you already have like an established following. You should just make one just cause. And I was like, I guess I can't see any reason not to do that. So back then it would just be like the live recordings of my shows that I did on Chatterbait. And so I was doing it. I was making like $200 a month, something very small. And then I went to San Francisco to visit a friend of mine in March of 2020. And that was right as the pandemic was starting to become a reality. And so I was living in Detroit at the time, and in Michigan, that the pandemic wasn't really being taken seriously yet. And so in San Francisco, that's when I was like, oh, fuck, like this is real. Because my friend that I was visiting worked at the Stud Collective in SF, and the Stud closed down when I was there. And so I was sitting across from him when he lost his job. We were like getting coffee. And then I got an email from my job back in Michigan, my restaurant job, and they told me that they were closing. And so I was like sitting there like, what the fuck am I going to do? And longer story, but I don't really have like a real great relationship with my family. They're both addicts. And so I don't really have like a safety net or a support system. Um, so then I was like, well, fuck, I have to make something happen. And so I applied for unemployment. But before I even applied for unemployment, I went back to my friend's house and I was just sitting on Twitter because I had made a Twitter by that point, but I wasn't taking it seriously. So I just started posting on Twitter. And then the rest is history. Made like $2,000 that first month. The next month I made 8 grand, and then onwards and onwards.
Wow.
It was weird. I mean, it's like I said, I don't think I said this actually. I've said it to other people, but I never anticipated to be where I'm at. Like, it wasn't like I planned to be a porn star. It just kind of happened. And for me, I didn't even really care about getting a large following. I just saw proportionate to how many followers I got on Twitter and elsewhere, how much more money I made. So it was always about like making more money. Um, and so here we are 5 years later.
Wow. Damn. Okay.
It's crazy to think about.
So when you were growing up, like prior to all this, did you ever have any inklings like, oh, I'd like to be a porn star someday or anything like that? Or was this just total happenstance?
I think really total happenstance. Like, I'm thinking in my brain, but I wasn't confident back then. Like, sex work is what made me the confident person that I am, because I knew that like I wasn't unattractive or whatever, but I don't think there was any part of me that thought, because I don't necessarily have, even though I'm much beefier than I am now than I was back then. I didn't have like in my brain a body that could sell porn. Like, I thought that a porn star's body looked a very specific way, and so I never thought that this was a possibility for me. And that's why when I started and everyone's like, "Oh, this is so nice to see someone who looks like me making porn. Like, I love this." It like clicked in my brain.
So that's a really good point about body. How would you describe your body now? How would you describe?
Beefy, but like looks like I work out, but I still eat, is what I usually say. I know boys that have muscle bottles eat a lot too, but I'll eat like McDonald's still. You know what I mean? Like, I love my ice cream and shit. So a beefy body with a little extra love, something like that. A dad bod, really.
Okay. No, I mean, I think you're a bit more muscular than your average dad bod, but so
This is more recent though too. Like, I've gotten really serious about working out over, I would say, I mean, I was working out a lot at the beginning of the pandemic, but over the last 2 years, it's like, because I've started to steer more towards a more sober existence. And so now that I'm steering more towards a more sober experience or existence, I feel like working out has taken such a focal point in my life.
so that wasn't always there. This is all new.
I mean, I always worked out, but I never cared about putting mass on. Like, for me, I don't like lifting weights. I do it because it's aesthetic, but I've always been someone who enjoyed cardio more, which is like such a foreign concept to people. But I have anxiety, and cardio is one of the only things that, like, if I'm really anxious, it will take my anxiety away like that. but I find lifting weights to be painful.
No, just the way you answered that, it reminded me of this interview. You know, Jason Momoa, right? And
Yeah.
someone they were going through like fan submitted questions. They're like, "How much do you bench? How much do you squat?" And his answer, he's like, "Nothing." He's like, "I don't touch a weight unless they're paying me to do it." Just like, okay,
I mean, I just don't like doing it. Like I do it now. Like I really like the way my body looks as I put on more muscle and mass. So it's like I do it for that reason. But like lifting is just not fun for me. Like I do it like literally 6 days a week now. But I just if I had my way, like I think that if I didn't do porn, I would be like working out like 3 times a week, not 6 times a week. You
yeah,
know?
okay,
I would be doing cardio almost every day, but I would be like only lifting considerably
okay.
less.
So you mentioned moving towards a more sober existence. Care to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I'm not sober. But I have my parents are both alcoholics. And so for me, alcohol has always been um it was never a problem for me, but it's just never been like an enjoyable thing for me to be around. And when I started therapy a couple years ago, I used to be when I would go out, I would get so triggered in like bar spaces and I didn't fully understand why. And then my therapist was like, well, you had two alcoholic parents and drunk people really trigger me and they don't even mean to. It's like just happens. Like when someone gets too drunk, it's not like when anyone's drinking period, but it's like when they get too
Mhm.
drunk and they get like handsy and like demanding of attention kind of things. And so for me, I still drink, but I'm working towards quitting drinking completely. Um, but I like still do psychedelics and stuff like that. That's never gonna stop because that's how I got off of antidepressant meds was microdosing mushrooms.
Okay,
So it's like a shifting dynamic. Like I don't think, at least not for the next 10 years, I won't be fully sober, but I do think at some point in my life, that will be the final destination.
okay,
I just feel better not using
yeah,
substances. Like my body's happier, I sleep better, my mood's better.
yeah. Um, Want to take a quick detour. Have you seen the Netflix documentary? What's it called? How to Change Your Mind,
No, I haven't.
dude. You've got to watch it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like one of those like little mini series with 4 episodes. Like one's about mushrooms, one's about LSD, one's about ecstasy, and one's about I don't I don't remember what the fourth one is.
Ketamine?
Maybe, but basically, it's like it goes through like it's not talking about like drugs, like oh yeah, you should go and do drugs, but it's talking about how those drugs are being used in therapy to like overcome PTSD, to break addiction, to completely change people's outlooks in life. And one thing in the movie, the way they described it was, if you ski or snowboard, like imagine like a mountain with lots of paths and all that stuff. And when you do like mushrooms, that it's like fresh powder. Yes,
Reconfigures.
so there
Yeah.
aren't already the predetermined paths and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I outside of like my really insane work ethic and the idea that failure is not an option for me, I would say that microdosing mushrooms credit it for me being an all around better person. And I also credit some of my success to it. So I don't think that if I didn't microdose, my perspective of the world just changed. Like I was so negative back when I before I mean and sex work changed my perspective on life too, but I think it was the combination of those two things because I come from nothing, right? And so for me it's like mushrooms gave me the the new perspective of the world and didn't make things feel so bleak. Um so yeah, I mean I love psychedelics. I really do. I'm such a psychedelic user. I don't think everyone should use them because it can trigger certain mental illnesses in people and so that's like something to be cognizant of when you're using especially larger doses and stuff like that. But for me, my favorite things. Acid and mushrooms. Favorite substances.
How did it exactly change your mindset? Because you're absolutely right. A lot of people have, that Debbie Downer, everything's negative, etc. But it sounds like, what do you think it was about that changed it from everything's negative to everything's great and positive and all that? Well,
So I'm not really a doctor, but I do feel like the concept of micro or mushrooms changing the pathways of your brain helped and aided a lot in that. But it just helped me like because I feel like when I was younger, due to like feeling let down, and like me and my parents have a much better relationship than we ever had. But back then we didn't. And so for me it was like I I really it helped me see like the humanity in people and understanding that people are human, including especially my parents. They did the best that they could with what they could. And so it helped me see the world and that way versus like seeing everything in absolutes. It kind of drives some people crazy. I'm such a see both sides. Like I'm very opinionated almost to the point that people like have issue with it. But I still like if someone comes to me and expresses their point of view about how they see things, I'm always able to kind of like see their perspective as long as I'm approached in a respectful manner. So I feel like mushrooms helped me like see the humanity in people versus like if someone would do something fucked up to me in the past, I would just straight up be done with the situation. And now I'm much more apt to try to like work with it and work through it.
gotcha. Interesting.
And also I have ADHD and I think I'm medicated for ADHD now. Um, but back then I was not. I didn't know. Like my parents didn't believe in psychiatry, therapy, nothing like that. So all of these discoveries about my mental health happened later in life. And so there's like some idea, small idea that psilocybin, the psychoactive component in mushrooms, helps with ADHD. So I think that I didn't know I had ADHD at that point, but I was microdosing regularly. And so I feel like it helped with my ADHD. And one of the things about ADHD is that untreated, it can cause like mood swings, it can cause depression, it can cause anxiety. It's like a catch all for a lot of different things. And so I think that in some part, it was helping treat my ADHD. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Gotcha. So you said you grew up really poor and both your parents were alcoholics. Do you think that what I'm trying to say is a lot of the times you'll get someone who grows up in that environment, but then they just grow up and perpetuate, the same shit because it's familiar. Whereas other people, those they essentially become reverse role models. You're watching them and you're like, okay, this is what not to do.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was much more of the second with you.
Yeah, no, for me, that's why, like, I used to drink heavily ish when I was in my early to mid 20s, but then, like, a light bulb just went off in my brain where I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like, there's a certain part of the day, even to this day, that after 5 p.m., I don't call my parents. I don't talk to them because it's just like they're not themselves anymore. And like, I guess they've cut back in some capacity. I don't know. I don't live in Michigan anymore. I don't see my parents all that often. But like when I was in high school, my parents were drunk every night, every single night, and I was picking up my dad off the floor and shit like that. And so those experiences when you're like 16 really shape your whole perception of the world. And I carried so much of that trauma for so long. And so as I've like gone to therapy and worked through these things, um yeah, I have no desire. Like no desire. I would rather like go eat an eighth of shrooms, sit in the woods and cry, and then not touch that substance again for X amount of time versus using alcohol to mask problems. Because even for me now, like I drank last weekend. I was in San Diego for some work stuff, and I was like, "Well, I'm only on partial vacation, so let me just like drink a little bit." It makes me feel like shit. It makes me so depressed, and I'm just like, it's like now I like no, I'm like it's like a vicious cycle that my parents do to
Mhm.
themselves. They're depressed from the alcohol, but then they drink to mask the depression, and then the depression comes back after the alcohol.
What was
So I
the
have no,
light bulb
fuck
moment for
that.
you?
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know
Huh?
exactly what you mean. I think a lot of people can relate that cycle to anything, like, oh, I'm overweight, so I eat because I'm depressed, but then I get more overweight, so I get more depressed, and oh God, yeah, you could apply that to virtually anything.
Yeah.
So, but what was you'd mentioned a light bulb moment where you're like, fuck this. What was that?
Um, I think it was just like, because so when the pandemic first, right before the pandemic, 2019, it's fully my messy party boy era. I was partying all the time, like taking Molly and ecstasy and going all across everywhere. And um, it's crazy to think about because I used to travel so much back then, as almost as much as I travel now, and I had no money. I don't know how I was doing that. Anyways, that's off topic. Um, and so then when the pandemic happened, it was like this forced sit the fuck down moment. And so I would say the first month or so of 2020 or March of 2020, when the pandemic first started, I would drink at home and like then I just didn't like doing that. And my roommates at the time, when I was living in Detroit, were had very strict COVID protocols. And so, like to me, like drinking alone in a house with them, which they were going through marital problems because they were gay but they were married, and so it was so much drama. And I just didn't like it. So I would say like from that point forward, I was only drinking once the world like we figured out COVID a little bit more. We used to have these pizza nights with my friends back in Michigan where we would all sit outside and make pizza. And I would drink there, but like then I wasn't drinking regularly, and I was like, wow, my body feels great. And
Yeah.
so when the world reopened, it was like I missed nightlife so much because I was like a raver kid. Like I grew up in Detroit going to like warehouse parties and shit. So that's very much part of my existence. And so I was really excited for nightlife again. And that's when I first moved to Chicago. And so I was partying in Chicago a lot. And so in 2021, I feel like I partied pretty significantly. And then I would say somewhere around the middle of 2022, I just it wasn't serving me anymore. Like I think I saw like the ugly side of nightlife, and I still very much love nightlife. I love dance music. I love house music. I love techno. I love all of those things so much, but I just don't like how it sometimes feels like in those spaces people are going to use a bunch of drugs to like work through their life, and everyone's journey is their journey. But for me it was just like I don't like this anymore. You know? And so it was kind of just like being around people and seeing them struggle with their addiction and substance use and having prior history with those things and being like, I don't want to be a slave to substances.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so before you had mentioned, Kirk, you said you're a bit of a workaholic now, right?
Yeah.
Walk me through how you went from party boy to workaholic. Not disagreeing.
I
I'm,
was
I'm
still a workaholic.
guessing I can see, but I want to hear it from you.
I was still a workaholic, even though I was a party boy.
Oh,
I think back then too, my ADHD wasn't medicated, and so I also that actually we didn't even touch on that. Getting diagnosed with ADHD and then being medicated for ADHD took away the impulsivity that I had for so long because I was getting regular dopamine shot into my brain and I didn't have that before, so I used to seek out all these external like stimuli to get that dopamine hit. And so I think that that had a lot to do with why I was partying so much, is because I was like, oh, this is fun. Let me take this drug. Then I get this hit of dopamine. Versus now I'm medicated, so I take my meds in the morning. They carry me through the day, and then I'm like, I don't really want to go out. It's like much more of a planned thing. But it was just like very unstructured. Like the party boy into the workaholic was just incredibly unstructured. So I would like stay out all weekend, but then I would wake up at like 1 p.m. and then do all of my postings for work, and now everything's just more structured. Like I wake up every day between 8 and 9, drink my coffee, sit for a second, then I go and I post on Reddit, then I film my TikToks, then I make my reels, then I post on Twitter, then I answer my DMs, then I do my customs, then I do my editing. Like it's a structured work day versus like when I was a party boy, I would do shit when I did it, but I was still doing it, you know?
yeah. So I'm guessing you vastly prefer the routine you have now.
I don't know how the fuck I did anything when I was on medicated. Like you're asking me, and like I don't know. I did it because that was like realistically 2021 was. I mean, there was a lot of variables there too, but that was the year I made the most money on OnlyFans was 2021. But I mean, people were getting their stimulus checks. Everyone had a lot more money to spend, and I feel like the market wasn't as saturated as it
Mhm.
is now. Like when I first was doing OnlyFans, all I had to do was post on Twitter. That's not a reality for me anymore to make the money that I want to make. That's just not a reality for me anymore. And because I feel like everyone has like not a shelf life, but like you stop being the hot new person after a certain amount of time. And so you have to much more like figure out other ways to market yourself and tap into different markets. And so I can't just, if I just tried to post on Twitter these days, I'd make pennies compared to what I made back then. Because there's a new person doing OnlyFans every day. And cheers, go off. But I have to work harder now, so I really don't know how I did shit unmedicated. But I do think that it was just a different time for what we're doing. Like the game was slightly different back then. It was a lot more easily to access, if
Yeah.
you will.
Okay. So what what do you attribute to you staying relevant throughout, this period? Because like you said, there's new people popping up every single day. You're not the new hotness anymore. You're the old and busted guy. So, what is the secret to being old and busted and successful?
I always tell people this, and like there will be people that will vehemently disagree with me, but I think that so many guys go into this and they're like, all my Twitter is going to be is me fucking. That's all I'm going to do. And I'm like, great if you're hot and you're prolific in your work, that can work, right? But if your fans don't connect with you on some level and you're not just out of this
Um,
world gorgeous and or have a huge dick and or can take giant dicks all the time, like if you're somewhere in the middle, you have to establish a relationship with the people that are consuming your content. And so I don't have the capacity to be anyone but myself. Like Zaddy Tony is a caricature in a sense, but like it's still very much myself. And so I credit my longevity with being a real person and not just like a horny sex guy, which like that there's obviously people on Twitter who don't show their personalities really at all and they're more successful than me. But I think that the reason why I've been successful and I think that more people would benefit from this is just by showing a little bit of
mhm.
yourself, right? So I'm very much myself and people connect with that. And also I'm blessed in the sense that it used to really fuck with my head because I don't necessarily look like other porn stars, but now because I have the body that I have and people connect with that on a very deep level, I think that that also has allowed me to kind of carve out my own space because people are like, "Oh, you help me feel more confident in my body," and there's not a whole lot of people who look the way that I do who are operating as successfully as me, which I wish there were more. But because there's not more, I kind of get to carve out a little spot for myself. And I don't really feel like I'm competing with anyone because of that. Like, I feel like I'm competing with myself to make sure I'm creating good content and getting more subscribers and working my dick off, no pun intended. But I don't really feel like I'm competitive. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. My dad used to always say that. He used to say in business, if a lot of people like you, you'll go under. If a few people love you, you'll succeed.
Yeah.
And God, that applies to everything, friendships, business. And I personally agree with you 100% that, yeah, someone might see your picture and be like, oh, yeah, daddy's hot. But that's a fleeting thought when they get to see you and your personality and something in your story they connect and they relate to. Then they're like, oh, I really like this guy. Let me go subscribe to
Yeah.
you.
I think a lot of people get nervous with being vulnerable, right? I mean, because it can absolutely blow up in your face to be vulnerable online. But I don't know. Excuse me. For me, I don't know how to not be real and be myself and be raw, which has been sometimes detrimental to my own career. But for the most part, it's been very rewarding, and so I'm very comfortable talking about these things. And also, like, I spent so much of my life running away from where I came from. Like when when I lived in Detroit right before I moved to Chicago, that's when I started to like tell my friends about like the struggles with addiction and my parents' substance use. And I realized in retrospect, like not talking about those things made it manifest in ways that were really bad. And so being so open about my story and where I come from, I just hope that people who hear it realize that they're not struggling alone, and that talk to people about it. Because if you're not talking about it, you're holding on to all of that, and that trauma will seep into every part of your life. And so for me, it's like talking about these things is important because I feel like if I had heard this kind of dialogue and conversation back then, it would have helped me process and move through the things so much more.
God, yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought that up because I don't think people truly have any idea or how they don't fully appreciate the power of suppressing things and keeping them down. Like, let's say you and I are dating, right? And let's say we're monogamous, and then I go out and I cheat on you and you would never find out. That guilt will manifest itself in other ways in the relationship. Like that shit's coming out one way or another. Like I'm going to start to become more
Right.
angry, or, it is going to eat away. Even if you never find out about the affair, it is going to destroy the relationship. Just like what you said, if you don't let those things out, it will quite literally consume you.
Yeah, like I really, it's so crazy to think about, but like, I think that's why I partied so much and why I was using so much more is because I wasn't talking about these things and I wasn't processing on them. So I was just like feeling all of like, I remember right before I started therapy, just like really feeling horrible about my lack of relationship with my family and not really knowing how to even navigate that situation when they had hurt me so much. Um, and so when I first started therapy, my therapist taught me this concept that's called radical acceptance. And so it's the idea that you identify and take note of the things that happen in your life that are negative, and you accept them and you feel them to their core, but then you don't let that emotion control you. And that allowed me to like have a relationship with my father because I've always had a relationship with my mother, but that specific thing let me be like, he did some fucked up shit. He will probably continue to do something fucked up in the future, but I want a relationship with my father in some capacity, a little one. I don't want a super close one, but I do care about him at the end of the day. Like, and like I said, people are human and not everyone's experience is the same thing. Like, my parents were just addicts and sometimes abusive, my father specifically, but like, it wasn't like I was getting the shit beat out of me or anything like that. So, like, everyone's experience is different. I don't tell anyone what relationships they should have with their family, but for me, it was like, talking about these things and verbally processing them and identifying the root cause of like my emotions towards it allowed me to move forward.
Yeah. So, what is your relationship like with your parents now? Because you had said earlier that you talk to them, but you don't like to talk to them when the sun goes down. I'm guessing because that's when they're fucked up.
Um, I you know, I don't think I'll ever have the relationship with my parents that I want. Um, my parents have been married for almost 30 years
Um,
now, and I feel like if my mom wasn't with my father still, we would have a much more authentic relationship. They don't know anything about any of this, which is insane to me. And people always ask me, they're like, what would you do if they found out? And I really don't think, if they might know. Like I feel like if they found out, they wouldn't say anything. Because when I came out of as being gay, I got kicked out of the house. Like they kicked me out. They were not. My dad said to me like from that point, he's like, I never want to meet one of your partners. And so this whole even me just being gay thing, they have never been tapped in to me being gay. And so I don't even, like, if they were to find out, they don't pay any of my fucking bills. They haven't paid any of my fucking bills. They've never really done anything for me. And so like it would probably drive a deeper wedge into our relationship that's already there. But I wouldn't really care. Like sex work saved my life for all intents and purposes. Like before I started doing sex work, I was very suicidal. I don't think that I would still be sitting here had I not gotten into sex work. And so um, I talk to my mom like every few months or so, and we'll talk on the phone for like 2 hours. We catch up or whatever, but they don't come to visit. I don't go to visit them. It's very superficial, and I'm okay with that. That's better than what it
Mhm.
was. You know what I mean? Um, but I've always been kind of the black sheep of my family. And so I was on my mom's side, my mom has a bunch of brothers and sisters. And so they all of their kids were older than me. And then there was a second wave of kids that were all considerably younger than me. So I'm the only person in my age group, really. And so for that reason, I've never really been connected with any of my blood family like that. And so, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I still get sad about it sometimes. Like that's always going to be there, but I'm just happy that I'm able to speak to them sometimes.
Yeah. Damn.
I know we got heavy.
Oh, dude. No, it's just it's sad when you have parents like that because on one hand, I can understand where a lot of older people are coming from because they grew up in a different time, a different generation, all that stuff. So, as much as it pains me to admit it, a lot of the times I wouldn't even fault them for their initial reaction, that initial knee jerk. But like after a certain amount of time, it's like, okay, dude, grow the fuck up. Like, get with the part. This is
Well,
absurd.
my mom is fully fine with it. My dad is just like he has so much. Like when we talk about fucked up growing up, my dad's father was a monster, and so he just has no ability to like move past things. And um so that comes from all of his trauma and him not addressing it, and him uh, being like, I'm not going to therapy, and then being diagnosed as bipolar, and then not taking his medication for it. Like, he's just like a black hole, and like, love him. And I'm sad that we've never had a real relationship. It's hard to have a real relationship with someone who doesn't work through their shit, you know? But yeah, my mom showed me Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like my mom showed me horror. Like my mom showed me so much queer shit that she didn't even realize she was showing me the queer shit. And my mom's a Gen Xer, my dad's a Boomer, so there's a difference in their perspective around things in general. It's just that my mom's in a very codependent relationship with my father. Um, but like I don't take any of this personally anymore. Like it really sucked for a long time, but like I don't know. It made doing sex work a lot easier because I just didn't give a fuck what they thought.
No.
You know what I mean? And if I had cared, because people always ask me, they're like, well, what would you do? Because I want to do this, but I'm worried about this. And I'm like, I don't have that experience. I can't give you advice on that. Because for me, it was like, once they were like, we don't care about you being gay. We don't want to see you being gay. I was like, well, I'm going to be the biggest FAGGOT that I can be. Like, I wanted to fully lean into being gay. Like I was like, I'm gay, gay, gay. Like that is where I found my community. That is where I found my family, is in the queer nightlife and rave culture and queer stuff like that. So my family is very much my chosen family. My friends are very important to me. So those are the people that I identify as my family. So it's just like,
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned is how sex work saved your life. Um, the reason why I bring that up is there's a lot of pushback in society now, sex work's evil, blah, 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 blah. It's actually why I started this podcast, is because, like people, when they hear porn star, they think drug addict, alcoholic, train wreck, all kinds of other shit. Like, as a sex worker, have you ever felt, um, you know, devalued or dehumanized or exploited? Or do you see where I'm going with this?
I do. So I think the everyone's experience with sex work is different, right? And even when I was escorting, I still had infinitely more control and power over my situation than, say, a trans woman or even a cis woman or people like that. And so the power dynamic is different when you are a man, just
Mhm.
period. And so I've never felt exploited, but I mean, I started in my late 20s. And so by that point, I feel like you have more agency over yourself, and like no shade to the 20-year-old, 18, 19, whatever's doing porn, but I can't personally imagine making such a big decision about my life then. And so I've never felt exploited. I do think that there's parts of the industry that are slimy, but I think that there are slimy parts of every
Mhm.
industry. And work is work, and sex work is work in the sense of like we're all selling our bodies for something. If we're not selling our bodies for sex, we're selling our labor for a company, or we're selling our brain for a company. And so for me, I've just always thought of it like that. And so like I've never done studio work. I've always been an independent person. So my experience with things is different than other people, but I think that um, sex work is something that's so devalued, but it is so important because everyone should be able to have sex, and there are people out there who are not physically capable of getting laid on their own volition. And back when I was an in-person sex worker, which I retired from, was just too much mental work for me. But you really hear these stories of people that are like they just want affection from someone, and I think that that is so important because we're both hot, we can get laid really whenever we want, but people don't have that same experience, and so it's important for people to feel desired and it's important for people to feel good, and that's why I think that sex work is so important. And for me, coming from nothing and finding out there was a way for me to pull myself out of my situation, um, and making enough money to support myself was like life
Mhm.
changing. So for me, sex work has always been a very positive thing. There were moments, I guess, when I first started, when I used to fuck with my head a little bit because you have to really not compare yourself to
Mhm.
other people. And so when I first started, it was really hard for me not to do that. But I never felt exploited. I never felt weird. But I just think that the religious right is grasping for straws, and it's all about control with them. It's all about control with them. And so, of course, that's going to be the narrative they frame. It's just like with every internet anti-sex work law that comes into play, they're always talking about children, children, children. But what the reality of the situation is that when you make sex work illegal or make it more difficult to obtain or make porn more difficult to obtain, you make it more slimy. You take away the transparency of the industry. That's when the fucked up shit happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. It's very counterintuitive. By forcing it underground, that's when the shady shit happens. That's when, people
Yeah.
aren't getting paid for shoots, or people are getting exploited or enslaved, or, all kinds of other shit. Um, let's say that, hypothetically speaking, you were at the gym or at the grocery store, and, you know, some stranger comes up to you and starts talking to you, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Zaddy, what do you do for work?" What do you answer?
Depends on the age group. It depends on if they're gay. like when I travel and I'm like on a plane or something, or I'm like at an airport and a straight person is just like making idle conversation with me. If they're like my age, I'll be real. But if they're like a little bit older than me, I'll be like, oh, I do digital marketing or I do social media management or something like that, which isn't a lie. It's like so much of my job is social
Yeah.
media. But if they're a queer person, I just am like, I do this and this is what I do. Um, because queer people are always like much more understanding. But I don't always want to have this dialogue with straight people about sex work and specifically that capacity. And it's not to say that there aren't gay men who are fully not accepting of me doing OnlyFans, because I will like dating is dating is a bitch as a porn star. And
Oh,
so I'm usually pretty transparent about it though, unless they're like my mom's age. Like a woman of my mom's age. Like I flew business class like on my way home from San Diego. I was sitting next to this woman who just really wanted to talk to me. And I was telling her about like doing social media work, but I didn't want to
yeah.
go into the OnlyFans details. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Okay, that in fact actually was about to be my next question was dating because that seems to be a reoccurring theme in almost every single interview I do is that once you start doing sex work, dating becomes a nightmare. So what has your
It's already hard as gay men, too. That's the thing. It's like it wasn't like dating was easy before I started doing porn. Um, but yeah, it makes things difficult. I mean, even when you're dating another performer, right? It's like even when dating another performer, you really like we go back into that conversation about comparing. It's like people need to understand that everyone's journey is different, right? And so I don't know, like it's hard. It's not easy, and I think I'm kind of at a point presently where I'm not really interested. Like I'm very much in my career woman phase, if you will. Like I just don't really. I mean, it's not that important to me at this current juncture. I am blessed in the sense that I feel like almost every partner I've had, like that I've dated hasn't had a problem with it or was a sex worker at some point, has done sex work in the past. But meeting new people, that's where the difficulty comes in. And I live in the Midwest, and like I love Chicago to pieces, and like but these boys will get fisted behind closed doors, but then in front of society they want to appear as normal as possible. And so dating a sex worker is like it challenges that view. And like whatever though, like I just live authentically as myself, and I see no point in getting hung up on whether or not people are going to accept me for what I do. Like it's annoying and it bothers me sometimes, but I just can't hold on to that. Like there's too much positive aspects of what I do for me personally, that if finding a romantic partner, which by the way was difficult before I did
Mhm.
porn, um if that's my biggest complaint, then I'm doing all right, you know?
Okay. Yeah, no, I would agree with that because God, before I met my spouse, I remember several times talking to people on the apps where as soon as I told them what I did for work, that was it. Like
Yeah.
conversation's over. And I even had
Yeah.
one person tell me, "Yeah, I can't picture myself introducing you to my parents." And it's like, well, that sucks.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? Is like for me, because I don't have like a good relationship with my family, I don't even think about shit like
Yep.
that, right? So it's like I'm always just like, oh well, I didn't really want to meet them anyways. Like obviously when we're dating long term, sure. But like I remember I was dating, this is a really funny story and I'll make it as short as possible. But one night I went home with this guy from a party, and come to find out he was a rabbi. And so I briefly dated a rabbi, and,
Wow.
and when I was dating the rabbi, he's like, there's a lot of similarities in being a rabbi and being a porn star in the sense that you're both public figures in your community. People know who you are, blah, 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 blah. But he was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I want to introduce you to my mom. And we had only been talking like for a month. And I was like, that's really soon for me to meet a parent. I don't know about that. Right. So for me, I'm never even thinking about that, because it's like, I don't, I've never brought anyone home to my parents ever. It's just not an option for me. So it's I never think about stuff like that, and then people say it, I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense.
Wow. A rabbi. That
Yeah, that was weird. Such a weird time.
okay.
We met at Horse Meat Disco.
So I wanted to go back to body positivity for a minute because when you say if you ask 10 people again what body positivity means, you're going to get 10 different answers. What does it mean to you?
Right. You know, really, I feel like this is something that has been kind of anointed to me. Like I never when I started doing this, that was never like my headspace around what I was doing. I was just like, oh, my dick is big. Great. I'm making money. But then when I first started, I was like, well, everyone kind of has like a very muscular, jacked build. And a lot of people, like, that's fitness is like their everything in sex work. And so for me, it's like fitness is very omnipresent, but it's not like the same
Mhm.
for me, I guess. And so in 2022, I had been doing OnlyFans for like 3 years at that point, or about 3 years, and I was feeling really disillusioned. Like I was just like, it's a lot of. I was making significantly less money than the year before, and I was just like frustrated with work, and so I was like kind of over it, and I was getting a lot of messages that all started to come in around this time that people were like expressing to me how much I helped them feel better about themselves and help them feel sexy and help them feel good. And that is when like another light bulb went in my head where I was like, oh, my work is important. Because at that point, I was just thinking of my work as like a means to pay my bills. So then when those conversations and dialogues started happening and people were telling me that I was helping them feel better about themselves, I was like, this is fucking cool. And so I think it's just for me, body positivity is just like owning my body and thinking that my body is sexy, even if it's not the quote unquote standard or norm. And all bodies are sexy, and there really is a market for everyone on OnlyFans. And so for me, it's just about like owning myself and being confident in what I look like. And I don't have any reason to not be. I'm so successful that I was like, it would be crazy for me to be like, I'm not sexy. You know what I mean? So I just really own my body. And I love that I help people feel better about themselves. I think it's fucking cool. Like those are my favorite. Every time I get one of those, it's like I get a little emotional because I remember being younger and I was chunky when I was like teenager. And so when I first started jerking off, all the bodies I saw were a specific type of body. And so hearing from people that are like, oh, seeing your body has helped me feel better about myself, it's like really beautiful. And I love that. It's fucking cool. It's the coolest part of my job. Like I never get sick of it. It makes me so happy.
Okay, so I'm asking this for the people watching. A long time ago, I made a YouTube monologue. It's called Dating Advice for Fat People. And I said fat because I did a poll before and there was no general consensus on what is the term. So, we'll just say thickums, right? And for me, like, I love a thickums if they're confident, if they own their body. Because for me
Yeah.
personally, if I'm about to have sex with someone and they're taking their clothes off and facing the wall or they want to turn the lights off, I'm just like, ugh, boner killer. So
I hate fucking with the lights off.
yes, agreed. So my
I
question to
hate
you
it.
is for the people watching, if someone is a thickums or they have a body that's not the stereotypical, porn body, how did you develop that confidence where it's like, hey, this is me? Because a lot of people, that's hard.
I mean, realistically, like for me, it was just like there was no option. Like we go back to my origin story. I needed to pay my bills, and so whatever hangups I had about my body at that point had to like go out the window. And so, um, I mean, it's real though. Like, I mean, I feel like back then I did a lot more stuff with like a shirt on and stuff too. So it's like I wasn't fully where I'm at now. And I remember when I first started filming, like, actually, because when I first started, I was doing mostly solo content, almost exclusively solo content. And so, like, I remember when I first started filming with other people in 2021, it was very jarring for me at first to get like accustomed to seeing my body jiggle and move in a way that I wasn't used to seeing before, because you don't know what you look like fucking until you like film it. And I really like I think if people want to feel more confident in their bodies, I really do think like taking a bunch of naked pictures of yourself all the time, like figuring out what angles work for you, where you look your
Mhm.
best, etc. Because seeing my body a million different ways in a different contorted shapes, doing different things, I'm like, I don't like that angle. I know what angles I don't like. I know I don't like that one. I know I don't like that one, but I love that one. I look great there, you
Yeah.
know? So it's just like, I don't know. I really do think taking as many naked photos of myself as I have, it's just like, oh, I'm hot. Like, I love when I take like a fucking fire nude and I'm like, that's so good. So I really think like taking a bunch of naked pictures of yourself can help make you feel more
So
confident.
basically, like trial and error.
Yeah. And also just like I think people need to realize that the way you see yourself is not how other
Uh-huh.
people see you. We're our own worst critic. We are our own worst critic. Like the way like when I first started doing porn, and like sure I think part of me being successful was people being like, oh, he's successful, let me film with him. But there were so many people and performers that I worked with who were like, I love your body, I'm so used to seeing a different thing, and it's so nice to see your body. And so having that affirmed to me was great. And so the way that we see ourselves is not how other people see us. And so what you may not find attractive about yourself, someone absolutely finds attractive about you.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and
And confidence is the thing. Like you need to be confident.
yeah.
Like you have to lean in. Like you have to just lean in.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I'm curious what you think, but just my humble opinion, there's no one person that's going to be attractive to everyone. And if you're
No.
trying to appeal to everyone, you're going to fail miserably because yeah, some people
Yeah.
might find me attractive for whatever reason. That's great. But tons of people don't find me attractive, and that's totally okay too, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I get rejected all the time. Like, like I always because people are always like, you must never get rejected. I'm like, I get rejected all the time. There's people I reach out to shoot with and they don't even respond,
mm,
girl. So like, you just have to accept that rejection is a part of life. And I think that um people get so hung up on
mhm,
rejection and it because it's a shitty feeling when you're
mhm,
like interested in someone, they're like absolutely not. But like you said, like I'm not for everybody, and I love not being for everybody. I think that's cool because if I was for everybody, there's nothing unique nor
yeah,
special about me. And so I love like it's just like ADHD brain fart, but essentially like you just have to like rejection is real and you have to accept it for what it is. And like you said, not everybody's going to be into you, and that doesn't determine your self-worth. I think too many people base their self-worth based on the perception of what other people view them, and I've never really lived my life like
yeah,
that.
agreed, 100%. So, how has porn affected your life negatively in any other way other than dating?
I work too much. Especially now that I'm more sober. I had this whole moment like a little bit ago. I would say like 2 months ago actually. Whereas like, oh, I've just substituted partying with working all the time, and that can't be healthy either. And I was talking to my ex-boyfriend who got me into sex work actually. And he was like, so has the pendulum swung too far the other way? And so I'm kind of
Mm,
trying to find a work life balance where I'm not just working constantly, but I'm also not just fucking around constantly. Like I want to be able to work and then enjoy life, because I find myself when I'm taking time off or like doing things for enjoyment that I'm like feeling guilty about it. Because when you're self employed, you see your money in real time, how much effort you put into what you're doing. And so when I don't work and I go on vacation, I'm like, oh, I'm not making money. But like nobody makes money when they go on vacation. So I'm trying to like wrap my brain around that and like remember like I can't, my life just can't be work. Like that's not healthy. Like I, what am I working for at that point, right? um and so I'm I'm a workaholic, and I think that's kind of a negative. I also think that's also outside of porn specifically. That's also fucked with my dating life because I love to work, girl. Um, and so I'm trying to like get to a healthier place with that.
Okay. Feel free not to answer this question. Um,
There's no world. At this point, I talked about my whole life trauma.
I'm going to read something to you, and feel free not to answer. But one of my exes sent this to me a long, long time ago. And when I read it, I was like, fuck, God damn it. Fuck, this is true. As much as I hate to admit it. So the meme says, I'm wondering if this applies to you. Feeling the need to be busy all the time is a trauma response plus fear based reaction distraction from what you would be forced to acknowledge if you feel you slowed down.
I agree with the first part. I feel like I wait. Say it one more
Uh,
time. It's a trauma based
okay,
reaction.
feeling the need to be busy all the time is a trauma response, fear based distraction from what you would be forced to acknowledge if you feel you slowed down.
So I definitely think it's a trauma based response for me because for me it's like it goes back to not having anyone to rely on. So for me it's like I need to set myself up to have success and a safety net, but I can't fail because no one's going to help me, which isn't even fully true because I have friends. It's not like I don't have people in my life, but for me, it's like the idea that I don't have a family makes it like fervent that I'm always successful in making money and setting up a safety net. But the second part, I sit with my feelings all the fucking
Mhm.
time, arguably too much. Like, I'm very, very introspective in a way. I credit, once again, psychedelics with that. But I sit with the things and I talk about them in therapy and I keep myself busy due to trauma, but I'm not running from
Okay.
anything. Like there's no place where I'm running for things anymore.
Okay. So,
But the first part, absolutely.
so eh, going back to one thing you said earlier, having experienced, being your own boss and having that control, not in a bad way, but in a good way, do you think you could go back to working for someone else after having been, where you are now?
I was just thinking about this recently because I'm like I I love my job still. And retirement is not something that's going to happen right now. But I work so much. And I'm getting to this point where I'm like, if I'm being self employed for freedom, but I'm working 6 days a week doing marketing and promoting and creating, I'm like, that's not really freedom, right? But I'm so used to being able, if I wake up one day and being like, I'm not fucking doing anything, I don't want to do shit. I don't,
Right.
right? And if you have a job, you can't do that. And I'm a big astrology person, and my whole chart talks constantly about how I'm not supposed to have like a normal brick and mortar job. Like I'm supposed to be in some capacity, like either a creative or like my own boss. Like I don't do well with authority. When I had a real job, I was consistently like getting in trouble because I have such a problem with authority. So I don't know what I have to sit down with. This is the thing that I have to sit with recently is I just need to start having these dialogues because I've done this for 5 years now and I'm sure I can do another 5 years, but I don't know if I can do another five after that. You know what I mean? Um, but I don't know. Like I love what I do, and as long as it's for me, it's like as long as I'm profitable and being able to save money and pay debt off. So I have student loan debt. Um, I don't see any reason to stop, but I know that there's going to be a point when this will no longer serve me. Like, I mean, there are people that have been in the industry for years and years and years. So it's definitely a viable option, but I just don't know if it's going to be my story. But I don't see myself retiring for at least another 5 years. Like 10 years in the industry will be enough time for me to be like, okay, I did it. But I make too much money. I make so much money. Like, so it's like, I can't give that up yet. But I don't know. It's going to be hard. It's going to be fucking hard to go back to having a boss. I do know that.
All right.
I do know that.
So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you do porn for the next 10 years, been there, done that. Okay, everything's great. And let's say you could do anything you want after that. What would it be?
You know, this is a question I've struggled with my entire life since I was a kid. No, I'm so serious. Like, whenever people ask me what I want to do for the rest of my life, I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, I feel like at this point, there's been a lot of, because ever since I started doing TikTok and reels and shit like that, my personality is becoming more of a thing. And so I kind of want to do something similar to what you do and start to talk to people about their experiences in the industry. Like, I think that I'm really conversational and able to help people open up about things. Like, I people come to me about their shit all the time, which is crazy because I'm just like, I have so much shit myself. But I love that you all think that I have my life figured out. So I don't know. Like, I'm trying to kind of figure that out currently because I need to be thinking about these things. But I definitely think that I want to get involved in either like curating a podcast or like a YouTube series or something of that nature. Um, because I feel like my strengths, like I'm funny, I'm engaging, and I feel like I don't really get to show those skill sets off in my current job. And so I would like to harness more of that power and capability. And the dynamic and landscape is changing so much. Whereas like a few years ago, it would be like a completely insane thought to think of a porn star on television or a former sex worker on television. But that narrative has changed so much. So there's just a lot of opportunities and windows that are open for me now. Like I've rubbed shoulders with really like successful people in the entertainment industry and that I wouldn't have normally ever met. And so I kind of want to explore those options and maybe do like my own YouTube series or like television or reality show, something like that, you know? And I won most likely to be on a reality show in high school. So I'm just like, I should live up to
Mm.
that. So I don't know. We're trying to figure that out. Like, I would love to be involved in the entertainment
Okay.
industry though.
It just hit me like a ton of bricks when you were just talking. Has anyone ever told you you look like a young Tom Selleck?
I've never heard that. I also don't know who that is.
Oh dear God, Jesus Christ!
I'm sorry.
You don't know who Tom Selleck is?
To be fair, I'm not good with actor. Is he an actor?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I'm not good with that.
oh my God.
Also, I'm listening. I need to grab my vape. You keep hitting yours, and I'm like, I
Yeah,
want mine.
no. After this is over, I will send you a pic of
Send
Tom
in.
Selleck, and
Okay.
yeah, no, Tom Selleck, I could easily, because he's one of the few actors who like rocks the mustache, but it's like his trademark. It's what he's known for. So, yeah, I could see that.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, I've heard Macaulay
What
Culkin in the
the
past.
fuck?
If I have no facial hair,
I mean, I don't know what he looks
I
like
don't
since
see
Home
it.
Alone, so I couldn't comment.
Yeah, I don't see it, but I've heard Macaulay Culkin. I've never heard Tom Selleck.
Wow, I can't believe you don't know who Tom Selleck is. Wow, Jesus.
I probably do, but I'm horrible with
Okay.
names. Facial recognition down. Name recognition.
Okay. So what does, like, let's say, tomorrow's Sunday, let's say you got the day off. What would you do? Let's say you don't have to work.
So my friend, after I get off of here, I have to run and clean my house because my friend is visiting from Detroit, from back home, and he's staying with me. So I don't know what his plans are tomorrow, but we're definitely getting dinner tonight. Like I don't plan on working. Like I woke up this morning, checked my numbers and my goals for the day, and I was like, I'm comfortable with this for the week. I also, my big Instagram currently is shadow banned, and so I accidentally posted a nude. It's such a fucking stupid story. I was making a meme of myself, and somehow my fat fingers touched like a screenshot of all these screen caps of this guy being like, "Did you get these videos?" And so then they got posted on my Instagram, and within not even a minute, the post was taken down, and so they're suppressing my reach on my big Instagram. And so because of that, this whole work week has been like me busting my ass. Like I made a Facebook page for Zaddy Tony, and I've been posting reels there, and I'm making money from it. And I didn't even know that was an option, but I had to like figure another way to promote while this is rectifying itself, because it will be lifted. It wasn't like my account was deleted, but um, so I've been busting my ass all week. So tomorrow I think we'll probably get lunch. It's fucking cold here and it's driving me crazy. Like it's like 35 degrees. It's the coldest it's been since February. And so I can't really go outside, but I'm a big nature person. I love to go out for walks by the lake shore. And if I lived in a more rural area, I love hiking. I like to go camping, stuff like that. So we'll probably get like some food, maybe go out because there's a local party that happens every Sunday called Queen here, which is like a very prominent party. So maybe we'll stop by Queen or something like that. But I like to spend time with people. I'm a very social being until I'm not. And then when I'm not, like get the fuck away from me. But yeah, I'll probably see some friends. I'm gonna catch up with him, spend some time with him because I don't go home enough and they miss me, and so I'm gonna really prioritize like spending time
Okay.
with him.
All right. So
I also play video games. I play video games. I play a lot of video games.
so basically you're in extroverted introvert.
Fully. Like I need recharge time. I'm also an only child. And so because I'm an only child, it's like my alone time is
You know,
sacred to me.
gotcha. Okay. Someone wanted to know what advice would you give to the people who want to start doing content on the internet? What things would you have liked to know before starting?
So there's this really, really useful resource on Reddit. It's the OnlyFans Advice Reddit. And it's primarily women performers on there giving like tips and advice. I've learned so much from women performers specifically, and how to, like, I would have never made a TikTok. I would have never made reels, any of that, had I not been like, oh, this is how they're making most of their money, as by curating a personality or a persona and then posting it online and people reacting well to it. So the OnlyFans Advice Reddit, for anyone fresh starting out, there's so much free information on there. And I'm kind of like, I won't say a yeah. I'm kind of a bitch about giving out advice now because I've definitely had people like cozy up to me just to get a bunch of advice, and then when they get successful, they kind of like blow you off. So I'm very much at a point now where I'm like, I'm not giving out free advice. No offense, everyone, but OnlyFans Advice Reddit has a wealth of information for all of you, and I've learned so much from those women. Shout out to all of them. So I would start there, and then also read the terms of service on OnlyFans. Read the terms of service on
That
OnlyFans. Know what you cannot post,
you're gone. Yes.
because they will ding you for shit you don't even think is bad. Because like I back when poppers, before I knew that poppers weren't allowed on there, I had a friend of mine get deleted from. And once you're deleted from OnlyFans, you're deleted. There's no getting your account back really. Like there are, you can if sometimes, but it's hard. And so don't use poppers on OnlyFans. Don't use poppers on OnlyFans. You can do it on
They
Just for
don't even
Fans,
have the
but
fucking
like
bottle in the background. It can't even be visible
no,
anywhere.
no. And like no
No piss.
animals. I mean, like obviously you're not fucking animals, but like no like cat in the background. There can't be a cat in the background. Everyone involved in the thing, make them sign a release form, have documentation, have a paper trail, because even if someone tells you they're okay with doing OnlyFans, you want to have the paperwork that says you signed off on this, so they can't retroactively say you didn't.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So you want to make sure you have a paper trail. I'm at a point now where I only perform and film with other creators for this reason, because a lot of people will be like, they'll use, oh, you can film me fucking you for because they want to have
Yep.
sex with me, but then months or years down the road, they're like, I don't want that on the internet anymore. And I have no problem taking it down because it's the right thing to do. But you want to be able to have like the paperwork. So I don't perform with non-creators anymore. I'm not filming with anyone who doesn't do this. I also am like, for me, I don't really like, not to burst the fantasy for anyone, but filming sex at this point is very much a job to me. So it's not as enjoyable as having just sex. Like I when I'm having sex off camera, I don't have to worry about what things look like. And so I don't know. Yeah, those things.
Yeah.
OnlyFans advice Reddit though.
Yeah, no, and just for those of you watching, if you are, I will second what Zaddy said about the OnlyFans terms of service. It is the one terms of service you want to read, because I've had like
Yeah,
160 videos taken down over the
yeah,
years. It, yeah, they do not
yeah.
fuck
You just need
around.
to know, and they're so blasé. Like, don't even ask them about certain things because they give different answers to
Mhm.
everyone. So just read the terms of service and then talk to other
Yeah,
performers. Because there's still like this whole conversation: can you sell used underwear on OnlyFans? And sometimes the mods will be like, yeah, you can, and then other times the mods are like,
mhm,
no, you can't. So, oh, and also we can't talk about meetups. Stop asking to meet up with me on OnlyFans. You guys think I'm being rude when I don't answer you, or if I give like a short answer, like read the terms of service. But like it's because of FOSTA, SESTA FOSTA, however you say it, the anti-sex work law. We can't talk about meetups on OnlyFans.
yep,
Period. At all. Not even with other creators. Some creator was like, you can talk about it with other creators. I'm not taking
yep,
that risk. Talk to me anywhere else. If you want to talk about meeting up, don't message me on OnlyFans about it. I like, yes, I read my DMs there more than I read my DMs on Twitter, but like, I can't
yep.
talk about that. Even if you're hot. And there's been so much, like a guy that was sexy as fuck asking to meet up, and I'm like, I can't answer you. Leave me alone. Read the terms of service. Against the rules.
Yep. And the thing is, and a lot of people too don't realize the AI on OnlyFans scans the audio as well. So you can't
Yeah,
even, you need to be careful what you talk about with your partner on camera. It,
fully.
yeah, no, it's serious. All right. Somebody wanted to know if you're top or versatile. You both, well, you answered that. And then how many inches are you?
I'm so my dick is not as big as everyone thinks, but I'm like 7.8, um 8 on a really hard day. Like if I use some Viagra or some Trimex, I would say I'm around 8, but I'm 6 inches around. So I'm a thick boy. Um but people are always like, you have like a 10-inch dick, and I'm like, no, the fuck I don't. That's why whenever someone's like, I have a 10-inch dick, I'm like, no, you don't. Your dick is smaller than mine. You sure the fuck don't. Like a 10-inch dick is, it looks every bit of 10
No.
inches.
Well, like, the angles and stuff don't matter, because 'cause I've noticed that
It
even in some
does.
of my stuff. Because like, in some pictures, I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm okay," and then other pictures I'll look at and I'm like, "What the fuck? That's not I'm not that
Right.
big." Like, I'm looking at it and it's like it's an optical illusion. I'm like, "In this picture, it looks like I'm massive," and I'm just like,
I will say that people do tell me I'm bigger in person, which is crazy. I feel like my dick looks so big in photos that when people say that, I'm like, okay, that's insane. I think it's because I'm a bigger guy, like you don't really see the full effect of it in photos until you're like in it's in your face or you're like holding it in your hand.
"Yep." Alright, 2 more questions for you. First question, for the rest of your life, you can only have sex in 2 positions. That's it, in your personal life.
I could do
Which
one. I could do
which
one.
2 are you picking and why?
Um Missionary. I love seeing people's face when we're fucking. Eye contact is so hot to me. It's like my biggest turn on is seeing what the other person is feeling when they're because I identify as verse top. Like I do bottom, but very selectively. So if I'm bottoming, I want to see what the top looks like when they're going inside me. And when I'm topping, I want to see what the bottom looks like when my dick is going inside them. And then if I had to do a second one, I would say I, I love when a boy is like on his stomach and I'm like going from behind, not like on their hands and knees though, but when they're like laying down, I'm like holding them down and like pounding them.
All right.
So those two.
All right. Final question is everything you've done, everything you've seen, everything you've lived through, if you could give one piece of advice to the people watching or, the 16-year-old version of yourself, what would it be?
Um, it's so cliche. It's so cliche, but it really does get better. There are going to be moments in your life where things get more difficult, but I found even in my life currently, like I would say that 2023 was a very difficult year. 2022, 2023 was a very difficult year in the sense I had like 6 people die, 4 of them from drug related
Okay.
things, and um, like 2 of my grandmother passed, and then someone else, and so it was just a lot of death. But when I was 20, if I was dealing that with that at 20, I don't think I would have been able to process it and navigate it the same way. And so, um, with age comes experience and wisdom and the ability to kind of self-soothe in a way. So I would really just like for people that are really struggling in their current moment, if they're watching this and they're really going through some shit, um, time really does heal all wounds. And also like go to therapy. Go to therapy. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life because I do therapy like I would say once every 6 months, and I'll do like a little short wave, or sometimes only once a year. But I don't like to be in therapy full time because I feel like I work through what I need to work through, and then I don't know what I'm talking about with my therapist, and it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So don't downplay the significance of short term therapy. Like when I was processing all the shit with my family, I saw a therapist for 6 months, and we worked through it for those 6 months every 2 weeks. Um, and I'm in such a good position now. So like, don't struggle on your own. Like, if you have the ability to afford mental health resources, please take advantage of it. And if you don't, um, look into other ways of mitigating your mental health issues. Like, don't struggle alone. Just don't. It's easier said than done. And as someone who has toxic independence, I don't know if I'm the best person to give this advice to, but like, it really does get better, and time really does heal all wounds. And also, take care of your mental health.
Hmm. Good advice. I don't think that was cliche at all, by the way. I don't think I've had another person mention that.
I feel like everyone always says it gets better, and I'm like, it's such a catch all, but it really does. It really
No,
does.
surprisingly, I've never once had two people give the same advice. Yeah,
Really,
not once.
I love
So,
that.
finally, for anyone who's watching this, where can they find your Instagram, your Twitter, your fan sites, TikTok, anything and everything you want to plug?
So my Instagram is part time daddy, no spaces. And then my Twitter is underscore Zaddy Tony. But I also have Zaddy, ZADDYPROBLEMS, ZaddyProblems.com has the list to all of my links. So that's the best place to find me. I have my link to my TikTok, my Instagram, my Twitter, my
So
everything.
just zaddyproblems.com.
Yeah, it's a Beacons AI website that just made a conglomerate list. It's like a link tree, essentially.
I'm surprised that site was available.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. All right.
I mean, it changes all the time. Like Linktree has been dinging people for their OnlyFans link
Yeah, I
recently.
heard that.
So yeah. So but currently zaddyproblems.com is the catch-all to see all of my
Okay.
stuffs.
And final question for anyone who is not familiar with your fan content, how would you summarize it? If someone were to subscribe, what can they expect to see?
I am an intimacy, passionate, driven sex person, so I like really connected sex. I always say that my porn is like boyfriend experience porn. Like there are nuances to that. I definitely pound boys out at times, but I feel like it is a much more connected experience. And then for like my content outside of like my porn, like my TikToks and reels are very like affirmational or funny or goofy shit where I'm like praising bottoms, telling people they're good boys, and then making jokes about my big dick. So you have like a little bit of everything, but I would say that Zaddy Tony is very much like kind of a caricature of a father figure. And so I really lean into like the caring and the daddy and the affirmations and building people up and then the connected
Okay.
sex.
All right. Awesome. All right, Zaddy, don't go anywhere. For those of you watching, I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I will link all of Zaddy's stuff below that YouTube will let me link. You can find all my stuff down there as well. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys all have an absolutely amazing week.
Boy.
Hey guys, just wanted to say thank you for watching this video, and if you did really enjoy it, I just wanted to mention there are two ways that you can help to support this channel. On the right side, there are three little dots. If you click those, there is a super thanks button, and on the left-hand side, there is a join button where you can join this channel. There are three different tiers of memberships. The top tier does actually allow one-on-one messaging with me via Discord, and I personally answer that. It is not a service. That's just, both of those are ways that you can help support me as a content creator in this channel. I mention this because YouTube is by far the thing that I enjoy doing the most. It's the thing I'm most passionate about. And unfortunately, a lot of the sexual videos, the porn star confessions, the Dom sub, all that stuff, it is not monetized due to the nature of the videos. But either way, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I hope you guys all have an absolutely amazing week. I love you all.